even though you may not invest in any of these vehicles right now as we speak, but just having the knowledge, you will not perish in future because you will already have an idea of what you need to do in future. This information about treasury bonds, I've sat with people who've worked for so many years. People don't know. People have no idea. And you try to bring this information out, people are just skeptical. But I feel it's an honor if all these are young people here in this group, they are keen about getting this information early. And as you know, most of this information, I'm sure none of us, our parents taught us about financial management, budgeting, investments, and all this. I'm quite sure none of us were taught. And we didn't know how they managed, but we are lucky at such an age, we're able to get this information where we are right now. It's such an honor, and we need to take it kind of seriously because knowledge is power. And there's something that the Bible says that my people perish because of lack of knowledge. Whatever knowledge you're having outside and you're gaining out of this group or the meets up, there are so many people who don't have this knowledge. I can tell you for free. There are people who don't know, people who've worked. I'm sure if anybody or any one of you here works somewhere, you find there are so many people who've worked for so many years, but they have nothing to show of it of having worked. But you find there's somebody who might have been employed recently, is just at the lowest level, but they're doing something for themselves and they look even much better than the person who has worked for so many years because the other person does not know how to do financial management, does not know how to budget, did not invest early. So when people get to retirement, you find now people start languishing and uh, causing all these problems. And there is something called the black tax. I think I've had it some time back. It starts now chewing back into you as a person because you also never passed the knowledge to your children. So at least you are lucky. You can start doing investment now so that you don't become an example in future. Huh? Okay. Let me not delve into too much soft talk. I'll start. I believe you've been taken through treasure the definitions of a treasury bond and a treasury bill. So I'll start with a treasury bond. The treasury bonds are. I will not use the I'll basically not use the English that you will get the actual definition, but I'll use the practical example based on the experience I have. Treasury bonds are usually flouted by the government. They usually come together, treasury bonds and treasury bills. And treasury bills are usually flouted like every week. There's usually a bill the government issues. You know, the government is usually one of the biggest spenders and the borrowers in a country. And they usually issue bills every week. And many people out here don't know. So the few people who know usually invest in these bills and they get money where they're seated. The money is worth where they are. So bills are usually short-term. They're like short-term government papers flouted for, you'll always see 91 day, you'll see 186 day, 182 day, that's 6 months, and then there's 364 days, that's 1 year. So if you have money that you were saying you're saving that money in an account, and you wanted, and you are thinking this money the way I'm sure you've talked in this group about saving in a bank account, the banks will make the money. You will not make the money because the banks will use your deposits to to lend to others and earn more money. But the moment you put your deposit in the banks will take this money and take it to treasury bonds and treasury bills. If any one of you is always keen in looking at anyone who does finance and you are keen in looking at this finance, this ND results for banks or quarterly results for banks, when you look at the part of their income, the biggest income for banks, go take that one for Equity, go take that one for KCB, go take NCBA. You see the biggest portion of their income comes from government papers, treasury bonds, treasury bills. And where do they get, how do they do it? They take your deposit, which they give you 3% interest, 4% interest, and take it to a treasury bill or treasury bond where they are given an interest of around 10, 11, 12, up to 15% interest, risk-free. So we are enriching these institutions. But we don't have to enrich them. We can also make a portion. We can also make something out of where they're making it, and that's where some of these bonds come in. So the government has a large borrowing appetite. The government is usually hungry for money, and they use these bills and bonds to get the money to finance the daily operations of the government. And how do the government pays back the bonds and bills? It's through the taxes they're getting from you. Like this week or last week, the finance bill was passed, and they added some items, and people are complaining over here and there. But this is what the government uses to pay back these treasury bonds and bills. So a bill is usually flouted. They're usually flouted every week. 91 days, that's 3 months, whereby you put your money into the government for 3 months. They give you at an interest of, let's say, 10%. That is 10%, I mean, or 11% or 12. This 12% is prorated. By prorated means if you're given an example of 12% per annum, it means that if you invested an example of 100,000, if for a whole year you should get 12,000. But since you took a bond for 91 days, which is 3 months, you'll have to divide that by 4. So you are going to get that's around 3,000. That's around 3,000 for that period. If you invest in a 91 day, if you had invested in a 182 days, that's 6 months, you'll get half of the interest that you are supposed to get per annum. That's 6,000. If the bill was for 364 days and it was at 12%, it means you're going to get 12,000 out of the government, risk-free, clean money. So let's start. How do you get to the treasury bonds and bills? There's the requirements. You need to open a CDSC account. CDSC account. This is different from the CDSC account that you've had for shares and stocks. It's different. You walk to central bank, any central bank. Particular. They've been walking around the DC central bank like a strange place, like a place that it's only big people who go there. No, these places are open to each and every person. You can walk to central bank, comfortably go inside there, like somebody who knows what he's doing, like mwenye inchi. Go in there and ask. Tell them you want to open a CDSC account. They will tell you one, come get a copy of your ID, get your KRA PIN, get a passport photo, and you also, at this particular moment, you need to be having a bank account, like in any of the local banks. I believe with the financial inclusion that is available in Kenya, it's hard to find somebody who does not have a bank account. You'll most likely have a bank account in any of the banks, either it's a Tier 1, Tier 2, or Tier 3. Once you walk into central bank, the counters, you will queue like any other customer. Most of the people you see there, they're old people. And these are the old people who are making money. And a few young people who are right now having this knowledge that you're getting right now. They're getting this, they have already started. There are people who have started. You'll find them there. But most of the young people you will not find. Majority of the people there, they're old people who know what they're doing. Once you are there, you will queue like everybody else in central bank. And you'll be given something called a mandate card. This mandate card, you're supposed to take it to your banker where your account is seated, where if at all you've invested in a bond, the money, your interest will be sent to. So you'll be given a mandate card, which you have to fill in block letters, like capital letters, clearly. The bank, your bankers will be told to, when you take it to your bank, let's say the personal banker in your branch, there's a place where they will sign. There's a place where they'll sign to confirm that you have an account number ABCD in this bank. And that form will have your details, your next of kin, and all those things that you usually asked about when you're opening an account. So you will take this form back to central bank with your ID, copy of ID, your KRA PIN, and a passport, several passport photos. The passport photo has to be signed also by the bank. They sign behind and they stamp. It's like a CTCO. CTCO means certified copy. like they can certify this is you behind that passport photo. You'll take it back to the central bank. For those who are not living in Nairobi, there are central bank offices and currency centers in Mombasa, in Meru, in Nyeri, I think in Kisii, in Kisumu. There are so many towns with central bank offices where you can still walk into those offices and make inquiries like any other Kenyan citizen. These are not offices for any, these are your offices. You are the taxpayers and you're the ones who fund these offices. So don't be afraid to walk into those offices because they look highly guarded and all that. No, they're always waiting for customers. So one, if anybody is taking notes, kindly note that the requirements to open a CDAC account. This is a central bank CDAC account. One is your ID. If you are not a Kenyan, are your passport or your alien ID, whichever, either your passport or your alien ID. 2, your KRA PIN. 3, your passport photo. It's always good to carry several copies of this, especially even your passport photo, in case you find some offices request for more. 3 is you must be having a bank account. And 4 is the first time you went, the mandate card you were given, you filled it, and you took it back to your bank, your branch, and they signed and certified you. You'll take them back to central bank. There, what they'll do, the agent in central bank, this person is going to take around 7 to 14 days to open the account, depending on the numbers available, depending on the numbers. Because the time I went there was during COVID, around 2020, and they delayed because of the protocols, people working from home, and all that. So it should take around 7 to 14 days. After it's open, they will send you a message. If between 7 to 14 days they don't do that, you can still walk back. And you can still take the initiative and walk back to that office. I've talked to so many people about this because as I started, a candle never loses light by lighting another candle. But so many people see it's such a hassle that let me just wake up today, go to town, go to this office, queue, and do all that. Pain is gain. If you have it easy, then you're not going to gain anything. You being here and listening to whatever I'm saying, and you here listening to your co-host and your hosts, is such an honor. Because right now, I'm sure somebody would be somewhere enjoying, because today is a Saturday, you'd be somewhere enjoying or having fun or doing something else. But you've sacrificed your time to be here. So the same way, take your time, take one day, go to central bank in whichever the towns I've mentioned. Nairobi, that's opposite City Square. Haile Selassie, please walk there. Go to the central bank. If you're in Nyeri, there's a central bank. If you're in Meru, there's a central bank office. If you're in Mombasa, there's a central bank office. If you're in Kisii, there's a central bank office. If you're in Kisumu, there is. Nakuru, there is. Please walk in there, get the information. Even if you're not, I see a hand up. I see a Flo with a hand up.
Frola, welcome. Your hand has been up for some time. Do you have anything to say? Oh, she has left. You're free to continue.
Okay. If anyone will need to interrupt and ask anything, or if I'm going too fast, you can let me know. I will be able to stop and I'll be able to do a recap on whatever I've talked about. So I've taken you the process of opening a CDSC account. This CDSC account is specific to central bank. CDSC, it's called Central Depository and Settlement. I don't know, is it center or something? You can Google that and you'll find. It's like the body that holds the whole fund. Once you open this account, it will be enable you to start buying treasury bonds and bills. So we are done with the part of the requirements for you to open a CDSC account that will enable you to trade and buy treasury bonds and bills. So next, I want to talk about bills. I had started with bills and I talked about the 91-day, the 182-day, and the 364-day bills. And as I said, these things are flouted every week. and information is usually posted in the central bank website. After this,
Sawa.
during the chat, if I'll be in a position, I'll copy
Uh,
that link and paste it to you. Here they usually post every week whatever they've flouted. It's like you have a bid bond. It's like they say, the government says, we want like 5 billion shillings from the citizens. And it's for 91 day, we want this much, for this much, this much. So you're given a period of time to bid. So during bidding happens after you already have an account, an active account has been opened. Now you are bidding. By bidding, you don't have to go back to central bank and fill a form and do all those formalities. No. With the power of your phone, even if you have a phone that has USSD, there's a USSD code, star 866 hash. When you're opening that CDSC account, the agent at central bank will request you to fill a form for being registered to their mobile banking. They call it TMD, Treasury Mobile Direct, which allows you to perform everything at your hands wherever you are after you've opened that account and it's active. So once the account is opened, you've gone to their website, and when you register, they usually even send messages to you telling you there's a bond that has been flouted or a bid that has been flouted. You go and you open and you check. They're saying they're advertising it from day A to day B. Please place your bids by this particular day. So usually dial star 866 hash, and then you look for the whatever items they've posted on their website, but you can now see them on your USSD code, star 866 hash. When you choose a bid bond, that's treasury bill, you are able to select based on what you want. Do you want to put this money? You want this money to be held by the government for 91 days? Do you want it to be held for 192 days? Do you want it to be held for 364 days? Depending on now your short term, your medium term, or your long term goals. So you will decide what you want. If you choose 1 year, then you'll be asked to give a rate. You're bidding. Because as you're bidding, there are so many people who are bidding. There are some people who come, they have tons of money. They're telling the government, I have 10 million shillings. I want you to hold this money, but I want an interest of 13%. Somebody else, a bank will come. You as an individual, you're trading as an individual. A bank will come. They have like 100 million shillings. They're also bidding. They will give their rate when they're bidding. And several individuals will come in. They will put their rate. Then what happens is, after all the closure date is closed, when no bidding should be done beyond that date, and all that is usually in the brochures that you'll get in the website. What Treasury does, the central bank does, is now to do an average of the bids that were given out. That were the bids. It's like an auction. The auction, it's like an auction. So they will look at people. What's the average? Then they look at those people who bid for the highest. Some of you will be thrown out, especially if you're a personal user, you're coming with some small amount and you want to put a high amount, you'll be thrown out definitely, because you find there are other institutions which came in with a lot of money and with clout, but they had a lower rate compared to yours. So you can be thrown out. So what I usually recommend for personal users with the small amount of money that cannot be compared to companies, you put an average rate, and an average rate is 0. So that one, whatever those companies, those big companies, the KCBs, the equities, the insurance companies, the nominees, all those companies, whatever money they wanted to invest, and those MMF, you see that money that you put in MMF, most of it is also put in treasury bonds and bills. Those companies come with your money. They come with a lot of money. They've crowdfunded your money. Now they're coming with this as big people. Now they have put their rate. You cannot compete with them. So let them just get the rate. Then you come in, you are happy with the average, because it will be at least a representative of what you should have gotten. Currently, as I speak, as of today, The last bill, treasury bill that was issued, that was auctioned, it had around 11.7%. It had a yield of 11.7%. So you can imagine this is even much higher than MMF, which gives you 8%, around 8-9%. The government, let me tell you, the government, people are making money out of the government. People are making money because the government has an appetite for borrowing. But the government, I'll tell you for free, they will not anytime soon. They're not going to, they'll not be able, they'll meet their obligation at any given time. Some people have had some skeptics even on Twitter and social media saying, hey, some of the government will not be able to pay the loans they've borrowed. They'll not be able to, although that's hearsay. People are still investing. The people who are talking about that, they don't even know about this, what we are talking about here, treasury bonds and bills. They're just outside there saying, hey, the government will always meet its obligation. How will it meet its obligation? By taxing you more. So as it taxes more the citizens, it is taxing the citizens more to pay you the interest of what you invested in them. So the people are complaining and the people outside who are not investing. You'll be enjoying the money, the 11-12% from the government, while somebody is outside complaining that the government will not pay, yet they have not invested in anything. So still on this bill, sorry if I've confused you in any way. Bills, if the minimum that you can invest in these bills is 100,000. I know it's a long shot if at all you're saving now. But it's good if you have this information. Always have hope that you'll get there, because if you have started investing in 3K, 4K, 5K, it will get to that 100K one day. Because you're looking, the way you're seated here, you're looking at becoming millionaires in future. You're looking at 10 years, 15 years, 20 years to come. But if you have that information now, you know where you're going. So right now, the bills and the bonds usually start, I think, I can't be sure that it's 50 or 100K, I think 100K. And then multiples of 50,000. So you can do 100, then 150, 200 or something. But if you have 100, that's the minimum you can invest in. So if you got, if the auction, the treasury gave, let's say, a maximum of 10%. Let me use an example. So for ease of calculation, 10%, and you invested 100,000 for 1. So they will take this money. You will not give 100,000. You're given at a discounted. You're given a discount. So treasury tells you you've bidded for 100,000, right? But we've given you at an interest of 10%. So what you do, they will tell you the money to send to their account. You will send 90,000 if at all you're investing 100,000, because that is a discount of what? 10%. So you send 90,000. So after 1 year, if that interest that was given was 10%, they will send back to your account 100,000. Meaning that is the 10% that was given. It's not interest on money that the way at you give a principal amount of money, then interest is accrued. No, for bills, they're usually discounted. If you gave 1 million and it was at 10%, they will tell you to give 900,000. Then at the end of the year, they'll give you 900,000. They'll give you 100,000 when you give 900. If at all the interest was, let's say, 12%, then you calculate for 1 year. Then you calculate the 12% and you net off whatever that you had bidded for. Then that's what you send. Then they will send you the full amount you had bidded for. I don't know whether I'm making any sense or there's a confusion somewhere. Is everybody okay? Or I may be talking to myself, or I need to do a recap on this. Okay, silence means is consent. Okay, so I say now, how do you send money to central bank? Again, Kenya is where Kenya has reached. Most of the things are digital. We don't have to go to the bank to do most of the things. Once you on your mobile phone, most likely people have mobile banking, internet banking, and all those applications that you have where you've linked your account to. Central bank will give you an account where you'll send the money. So what you're just going to do is to put the CDSE account, not the CDSE account, that account that you open, the CDS account number, some details, the payment details, whatever you had bidded for, then you credit the account. That's how you just transfer. After you open the account, you have no business going back to that office. Wherever you travel, even if you went to space and you have access to your mobile banking or on the USSD, even if you went to Antarctica, you'll be able to transact and do everything with central bank. So try as much as you can to walk to any central bank and open a CDSE account. From there onwards, you'll never have to walk there. You'll be doing all your things online. Okay. So I've talked about bills, and I said bills one, there is 91 day, which is 3 months. There's 182 days, that's 6 months, and there's 364 days. If you check, I said I'll post on the chat the link for central bank, where they usually these things are auctioned, and the current and the latest data that is there out. People are highly investing in 3 month, this 3 month, 91 day treasury bills. You find the government seeks requests for 2 billion Kenya shillings, and you find Kenyans bringing out 15, 20 billion. So you can imagine that the kind of money that is out here. So people invest after 3 months. If you got your interest, you can decide now I have my money. You can decide to reinvest the money. If at all you said you want to continue investing this money, if at all you had an emergency, you can still use this money. But after 3 months, you have your money plus the interest. So these things are hotcakes, but it's only that people don't have information. So don't perish. You have the knowledge and you're being given the powers right now. Next, I'm going to talk about the bonds. Whatever I spoke was about bills. I'm going to talk about bonds. Bonds are now long-term. These are long-term investments. You find there are treasury bonds. There are things they call treasury bonds, and there's something called infrastructure bonds. They're still under bonds. Bid bonds. You've heard of bid bonds. You've heard of the infrastructure bond. The names look big. The names sound big. The name sounds like they're for other people, not us. No, these things are for you. You, the person. They're for you. They're not for other people. As in, these are investments for other people. They're for you. And the earlier you know them, the better. So bonds are usually long-term investments. Like a government can flout. The government can flout, and they usually flout this like twice a month, every month. It's because of the borrowing appetite the government has in order to meet its obligations, like pay salaries and all that. So the government borrows. The government never stops borrowing. And if you see the government increasing taxes every day and you're complaining about the cost of living, it's because they have to pay all these bonds and the interest. They have to pay them and they have to meet the obligation. So they have to continue borrowing and borrowing. It's a cycle that never ends. So bonds are long-term, they are long-term government papers. And they can be for 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 25 years, 30 years. And the higher the tenor, the higher the interest. If I give you an example of an infrastructure bond that was flouted 2 weeks ago by the government, people are complaining. I saw on social media people are complaining, hey, when you lend this government, they will not be able to pay, they will not be able to meet the obligation. This infrastructure bond that was flouted was was it for 6 or 7 years? I think it was 6. It was to be redeemed in 2030 or 2029. The government was looking for 60 billion. But you know how much Kenyans brought out? People threw 220 billion. You can imagine. And this is not one institution. These are small people. Somebody brought 100. Another one brought 200. Another one 100. Another bank brought 1 billion. Another one brought this to a total of, to a cumulative of 220 billion. So you can imagine. Do you know the interest that is being offered on this bond? And mark you, there is no tax. For infrastructure bond, there is no tax. It's tax-free. Whatever you invested, they gave you, if they gave you an interest of 16 or 15%, you get the 15% clean out of it. This bond that was closed this week, it was closed on 19th of June. Today is, what's the date today? Today is 17th, right?
Yes.
Yes, 19th, 17th. It's supposed to start on 19th. This bond attracted an interest. It yielded an interest of 15.387%. Risk free. This is a low risk, high return. We know of low risk, low return, and high risk, high return. This is low risk, high return. You will get all this information. I'm not speaking from the air. 15.387% for an infrastructure bond that was issued 2 weeks ago. So you can imagine. Okay, for bonds, this is what happens. It's different from bills. Bonds, if you bid for, let's say, 100,000, which is the minimum, 100,000 shillings, which is the minimum. What happens is you give the government the 100,000. Then the government is going to give you this principal 100,000 at the end. If you had bidded for 7 years or 6 years or 20 years, it's going to give you that money if it's 2035 or 2030 or 2040. The principal will get it in 2040, the whole 100,000. I hope I'm clear. If you had bidded for this bond and you were successful, and you had bidded with 100,000, and you got a 15, and it was given at 15%. This particular, if it's an infrastructure bond, your 100,000 will be for that particular tenor. If it's 8 years, then count 8 years from today. That is when you get the principal. Now, the interest of 15% is paid semi-annually. So if you calculate 15% of 100,000, that's 15,000. So if it's to start this month, then after 6 months, every 6 months, the government pays you 7,500, which is a total of 15,000. So you will be paid that 7,500 twice a year to make it 15,000 for all those years, if it's 7 years or 10 years, until the final, when the bond matures, when you get your principal. So what people usually do is, to have regular income, is you bid for a bond this month. Then you know this bond is going to pay in this particular month, then you count another 6 months, it's going to pay in this 6 months. So next month, somebody comes and bids for another bond. So at the end of the year, if you had bidded for 6 bonds of the same amount, it means in January, you have an income. February, you have some money. March, you have some money coming in. And it will come like that until those items mature. So this is something incremental that you can bid for the first one, have it, accumulate some cash, put it in another bond, and you space them such that any given month, even if you are even if the worst got to the worst and you needed food, you'd be getting at least every month something that you can eat, knowing in mind that you are not broke. There's some money of yours seated somewhere that you're going to get in future, which is now going to help you probably to pay school fees or to meet an obligation that some of you usually, like, you feel like the education people usually take the education policy and all that. This money, when it comes to the end, it's going to serve you at that time. I don't know if I'm clear. So treasury bonds are paid semi-annually, and your principal, you get the principal amount, the full amount that you had given the government at the end of the tenor. If the tenor is 10 years, you'll get it at the end. If the tenor is 20 years, you'll get it after 20 years. If the tenor is 7 years, you'll get it at the end of 7 years. but every 6 months you are paid the interest semi-annually. If it's 15% and you invested 100,000, the 15,000 is split into two. You get 75 in between, twice a year. Okay. To note, infrastructure bonds do not attract tax. Kindly note that. Infrastructure bond, to be clear, they don't attract any tax. Treasury bills and treasury bonds, depending on the duration for a bond, especially for a treasury bond. If it's a longer term, it may attract an interest, a tax of 5%, 5 to 10%. Same as bills, 5 to 50%. The shorter the term, the higher the tax. So the government wants it, they want you to give the money for a longer period so that they'll be able to space the payments, so that they will not have to pay you all at once. So an infrastructure bonds, most of them are usually long term. So the government gives you the best rate at no interest so that they stagger the payments. They're able to at least collect more tax and pay slowly. So kindly note that area. But there is no other management fee or cost or any other cost that is incurred when investing in a treasury bond or a treasury bills. Let somebody not lie to you. Let somebody not lie to you that the government will not return your money. The government is the biggest borrower, the biggest spender, and and it's a low risk, and currently it's a high return in comparison to other investments. Even if I don't know whether we have financial analysts currently here. I'm not good in finance per se, the calculations, but there are people who usually do calculate the return on investments, especially for real estate. They go and take, let's say, MMF, they take bills, and they do return on investment. Currently, as we speak, as I'm speaking right now, I think treasury bonds have the highest return on investment at the lowest risk. I think it beats real estate right now to 10 million, because for real estate currently, as we speak, when you have a house, you need to do, even if you had built houses, you took this 10 million. Let's say this person investing in real estate. Let me just speak of the air, things that probably are not on our reach right now. We will get there. All of you guys will get there. But I want to put it in perspective that the person who comes into real estate and wants to do houses for 10 million, the return on investment, these people, you need to hire an agent to manage that property. You need to pay property rates. When you have houses, at times they are vacant. You need to repair the houses. You need to pay some rates to land rates and all that. So those are all things eating into, in as much as you're making money, into you have a high ROI, it's negated by all these overheads. But for treasury bonds, there is no overhead. The overhead that may come out is only most likely like the tax, the 5%, the 10%, or the 15% tax on the interest, not on your money. It's not your principal. If at all you are to make, let's say, 10K interest, then they will just tax like 1,500 or 1,000 of that, or 500. That is the only overhead. That's the only cost you're incurring, nothing else. So I'm seeing the time. We're already almost 1 hour over. I don't want to talk too much because probably I don't want you to get confused or saturated in such a short time. Is there any question currently on anything? Any observation, any query? Treasury bond, treasury bill, how they operate, or anything? I want to hear from any of you. Any question, anything you've noted, anything interesting, anything you've heard outside that you think I can address, because I'm speaking from point of experience. I'm not speaking from thin air. I'm speaking from something I have tried and have seen. I'm speaking of something I have tested and have seen. Please put up your hand. Host, kindly.
Okay.
I
Pasarela
have
is
seen a question.
asking.
Bonds umesema.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Bonds umesema
I have
list
seen,
ni
yeah.
100K.
Yes, the last time I checked was at least 100,000 shillings, but incremental multiples of 50K. So as I started, when I started, I said, it looks like it's far. Yes, it's far, but it's not far. When you have the will and when you have the, you've put in your mind that this is the path you want to follow, and you've said you want to start budgeting, you want to start investing, you've taken it, as in unataka kufanya, this is what you want. I can tell you utafika huko, because some of these roads, unajua kuna ile the narrow path na kuna the long path. So many of the people follow the wide path, but the narrow path is followed by a few, and those are the people who are enjoying benefits. And most of the people don't share this information. Those people who have this information, there are people you might be working with them together, but they will not give you this information. But utapata they are enjoying this interest. Wanakula tu pole pole. Somebody you may be probably may have planned, you planned for a road trip, you planned for holiday, you will use your salary, but somebody else will use the interest yenye amekuwa akipata from these things that he's investing in, so his salary is intact, but this person uses the interest. You are there, you'll try to chase clout with this person, but this person is using interest na hajakuambia how the ways. So when you have this information, put it somewhere. When you get there, jaribu, try to find out even more on your own, because there are so many things when we talk on these shows, because of time, there are so many things that may be left out. So I want to see the questions there. I've seen. I don't know how to get the chat. I
Helen
see a
Wall
hand
has
up.
raised her hand. Helen.
Okay, I have a question. I don't know if this had been addressed because I joined late, but is it possible for people to, let's say, get into the treasury bonds or bills? Let's say you do it as two people instead of one, because let's say if I don't have the 100K, can I do it with someone? Ama ni lazima tu ukue individually?
Okay, that one now, because there's a category for personal and, let's say, joint. If at all you have a joint account, because as per the mandate card, when I saw the mandate card I was given by Central Bank, there's a space down there. But I actually didn't go further to find out, because I know companies trade as a company, because a company is a going concern. It's a separate entity from an individual. So companies usually have agents. So a company will not bring like 5 people. It is the name of the company. For the joint part, whereby it's 2 or 3 people, I'm not quite sure. But on the card, I remember down there was a place for joint, something like a joint account, whereby you can have one CDSE, something. But I don't want to give you false information. I think I will need to go further and check. I will need to go back to the central bank website and inquire. In fact, I used to go to their website, take the mobile numbers there and call. I used to call, the phone rings and nobody picks up. But I said I was determined. You call and call. There's nothing. What is the worst that can happen? Nothing. Check the email, write to them. Let them not respond. Go to Twitter, write to them. Look for CBK, write to them. If they don't respond, so what? There's nothing you're losing. Ask, ask. Eventually, they usually respond. I used to disturb them. In fact, even for me to open the CDSE account, it took long because it was during COVID and they told me it was like 7 minutes. It took so long. So I used to call. I used to call and leave messages and all that. So there's no problem with trying to get more information from them. But there's a link I will try to, because I'm using the same phone, if I'll be able to, but I'm sure, I don't know whether you have a WhatsApp, you have a WhatsApp group, whereby if I share
Yeah,
the
we have
link
a
to
group.
one of the hosts, you'll be able to go into those links, because I know after this call is closed, I think Zoom usually, is it Zoom or Google? Everything goes. so we'll not have a history. I've seen
We have
somebody
a
ask
WhatsApp group.
na list. Okay, I've seen a question here na list ya kulon CBK
CBK.
bonds, umesema list ni so na list is it Immaculate, can you clarify the question, the last part na list ya kulon CBK?
Pasa, please clarify.
The part ya na list ya kulon CBK. Okay, the least amount of money you can bid for bonds and bills, treasury bills, is I know it's 100K. I don't know that it's going to 50, but I know it's 100 with multiples of 50. So if it's 100, 150, 200. But if you have somebody and you trust each other, probably, I know lack of trust is also another problem. I know also some people mnaweza kuwa mko kwa chama together, but you don't trust each other because at times you feel like you can loan one of the person money, but this person can disappear with the money. So trust, at times, trust matters. If at all you're an individual and you feel like I have 50 and I need somebody with 50, you can work with somebody whom you trust so that you can put your money together and you enjoy these benefits together. Or if you have an account, if this time you have an account and you invested in your name, in your account, in your name, you can both open separate CDC accounts, invest with one person. Then the next you accumulate the money, then you can also invest in the other person, so that if you had 50 on this side, this person had your 50 invested in your CDC account, you can also do a 50 in this other person's account. That's what I think. But we will find out further about the joint account opening of a CDC account. I will check on the form and the mandate card. So I'll share the link. Is there any question? I'm seeing we're past 5 minutes past time. I always like us to keep time, so that today we just have it as a treasury bonds and bills. I'd also wanted to talk about shares and stocks, but I think this one can be scheduled for this next session, so that we don't end up having piecemeal information. So can we, in the next 5 minutes, can we have any questions, any reactions, any observations, anything I may have left out, that because we're learning from each other, what you had outside that you may want to add? I host kindly.
Okay, sawa. John?
Okay, thank you. On my side, I just want to say thank you for sharing such kind of information earlier. Yeah, so at least when we plan on our future, tunajua we have different ways of investment. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, John, for the
You're welcome,
reaction. And also, Apasapia has said thanks a lot. She'll research more. And I feel like this is a wide topic. I don't know, that we'll continue learning with time. But on my side also, nimelearn something I didn't know. I always thought about CBK as a place where we just transfer money, or a bank that loans. It's a central bank that loans other banks, but I didn't know I can invest on it. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
Any other reaction?
Thank you.
I have
thank
a
you so much.
question. Yeah, from that time when Hustler Fund was being introduced, I had a certain financial creator. He talked about there is a way that you can invest the Hustler Fund. You can make it work for you apart from the loan. I don't remember, but do you have any insights on that?
Okay, I've not been keen on the Hustler Fund, but what people usually do, what I've seen people doing, don't be afraid. What I usually say, don't be afraid of being in debt, as long as the debt is working for you. You've heard even politicians saying, "Hey, Japan has loans, America has loans, 100% of," but it matters how they spend the money that they've borrowed. So yourself, if you want to become smart, Let me tell you, all these senior people in government and all these people have loans, and it's not that they don't have money. They have money. They take loans. Why do they take loans? Because they want to spend your money. Their money, ile pesa wako nayo, they don't want to. They're spending it on other things. But your money that is lying in the bank is what they get. Wanaitumia, hiyo ndo pesa wanatumia. All these senior people, these people that you see, I don't want to mention names. These people have loans in the bank, and it's not that they don't have money to pay off those loans loans at once. They have the money to pay it off. But mtu anaona, if I'm going to the bank and I'm borrowing money at this rate, then if I default, what is the worst that can happen? I will just take my money. If I feel like I'm almost defaulting, I'll take my money and pay back the loan. But I can still use somebody else's money to grow. So you find somebody comes and borrows from the bank, and he looks, the bank is loaning me at this percent, at 10%, but a treasury bond is at 15%. So let me take this money from the bank and push it on a treasury bond. That's how some people are thinking. That's what some people are thinking out here. They sit down and they do calculations that, this thing, this fund is being given by the government at 5, 6, 7%. The person has already calculated plus the interest that will be paid in a year. So he sees there's an opportunity elsewhere that is going to give me clean returns, which if the worst happens to the worst, I can just break it up and I can sell that bond in the secondary market and come and pay off the loan. It's the same analogy that is used by people who grab lands. Like you have a government land sitting somewhere idle. Somebody comes and builds a high-rise building, knowing it will be brought down by the government. But this person has come and built in government land, knowing the government will not break it immediately. It will take 10 years for the government to come and bring bulldozers, mark politics, or quota. So by the time you're coming to break down that plot, the building that he's built, he has already returned his money and he has enjoyed free land, which he grabbed, which he knows is not his. So it's the same analogy. You can look at, if at all you're getting money from your chama, you're being lent in your chama at 5% or 6%. The same way, there's another hole where you can get a higher interest. Take this money, it's like free money, put it elsewhere, put it somewhere else, let it work for you. Let this money work for you. The local money is the pawn. You see, like currently, like the Taiwan banks, the KCBs, the equities, they have deposits up to 1 billion shillings. No, not 1 billion. Is it 1 trillion? Is it one balance sheets of 1 trillion and deposits of about 800, 900 billion? These buildings, these old buildings going up everywhere. People borrowing that money. That is your money. They're borrowing it up and doing all that. And it's not that they don't have money. They have the money. So kindly take note of that. Try to act smart. Try to think deeply on how take the narrow path, which not everybody follows. And we've also in this forum, we've talked about diversification. Now that I've talked about bills and bonds, don't put all your money in bills and bonds. Okay. Go ahead, Maggie.
Okay, so I think unasema there is a way somebody, like you can take, we should call it like smart loans, where you're taking that loan so that you can be able to invest it somewhere else. Because I kind of feel like with whatever we see when you default a loan, it has made so many people be scared of loans. So my question here is, like, is it possible for you to rise to a certain rank when it comes to financial status minus loans for people who are scared of taking loans?
It's hard. It's quite hard. It will take long. You will take longer. You will. I can't say you will not get there. You will get there, but you may take a longer path. Because right now, let me ask you if you want to invest in real estate or not. Real estate, don't look at it like the kileleshos and all that. Real estate can be umepata tuseme loan ya 500,000 or 1 million. Ukaenda ukapiga mabati like those mabati houses in Kibera. But let me tell you for free, those guys, those landlords there makes the return on investments for these slums and it's higher than this formal housing. So it doesn't, real estate don't look at it like the real estate that, hey, it's an estate that looks, real estate is anything and you put housing wewe as a small person pesa yako umepiga nyumba 10 za mabati kwa like on an eighth, umeweka kachoo yenye iko nje, watu wanaingia hapo, even if it's 1k 1k or 2k 2k, that is a small real estate. But for you to get that 500k or 1 million at once, you will need at least to get a loan, at least. But if you are to save that money until it reaches 500k or 1m, you might take longer. You may get there, but it may take longer. But if you got a loan and you are sure you've done your calculations, please don't invest in anything you don't have information about. Even as we teach, try to get as much information and understand it before you invest. So if you put your eyes, you want to do some housing, understand the dynamics of housing. Take even if that loan, even if it's like 500k, ushapiga hesabu ukaona kakiharibika, nikianza kuuza hizi vitu zangu hapa, default ikifanyika, niko na kitu mahali inaweza settle na nitoke clean and neat. But you can still borrow, put your thing, put your structure right now that starts earning, and you start using those rentals, hiyo pesa ya rental, to pay the loan. I don't know whether I've answered you, Maggie. I
Yeah,
see
you
we have
have
15
answered me. By the way, when it comes to real estate, you know, I've always been interested in investing in real estate. So the other day I was listening to an interview, this Kenyan celeb anaitwa Njoroge wa Papa Shirandula, and he said that he can't advise anybody to invest in real estate kwa sababu it takes a lot of time for you to start getting profit. Maybe umechukua loan, and then it's like alikuwa anasema when it comes to real estate, hizi high affluent areas kama hivyo Kileleshwa, it's like ni umewekea watoto wako, hiyo itaanza, the return in investment itakuja baadaye. But right now venye umesema we can start with these houses za slums. Actually, I used to think that hizo nyumba ni hasara because I usually see people, mtu amerent 1 month amelipa 2 months, the third month amehamu usiku ametoroka. Mimi nilikuwa nadhani ni hasara. I didn't know they have money, but yeah, right now nishajua. I can give it a try in future. Yeah.
Please do more research. Do more research on that. Let me tell you, people, that's why the slums never end. You remember even when they were doing housing, there's a time in Langata
I can't hear you. Kuna mtu mwingine anasikia ama ni mimi peke yangu?
Hata mi sisikii.
Sam. I think he has akona internet issues. We can't hear him, Aki.
Oh my goodness.
I think ni internet.
Yeah, amerudi.
He's back. Mnamsikia?
Oh no, he's on mute.
Ako mute.
sorry, I was saying the semi-permanent structures. I don't mean you need to go to, let's do, if you are to go into this, we can do something better than what is in the slum, but you can still do semi-permanent structures as a start. You have a plot of land, umesplit vizuri, umejenga choo ya nje, you've done something that is habitable and gives people dignity, but you don't have to go into doing something that is too formal and too costly. And so Maggie, if you want to go into that side, you can do houses that are your initial investment iko chini, though you will take long. What that guy in Papa Njoro said is true. It takes 10, 15, 20 years to return. If you invested 20 million to build those high-rise buildings, you'll take long to return your money. But if you do easy semi-permanent kidogo kidogo, you can get something out of it with the little money that you invested.
Oh, okay, just
We are
lastly, allow
17
me
min
to say
past.
this. Just lastly too, like I always hear they say kuna hizi nyumba za kanjo. is there a way that somebody can also be part of them, like wanakupatia and then you get wenje una rent?
Okay, that one, to be sincere, I've heard those kanjo house about kanjo houses, and the things I've heard about kanjo houses, mi nimekuwa tu nikisikia makesi za people being thrown out because unajua kuna angry people in government who want to throw people outside, but the others like the estates like Huruma, I don't know, is it Kaloleni, there were these ones in Woodley, there were so many houses Buruburu that were owned by kanjo. You find they are generational. You find like it's your father who had the house, alikuwa anaishi hapo, alikuwa analipa rent and the rent is too low, so for somebody to move out from hizo houses ni ngumu sana. But to answer your question, I don't have a definite answer for that question, to be sincere. I don't know. I don't have a definite answer for it. The information I have about them is the fields that I've heard about courts and all that, and also being inherited from family to family, because the rents, you find somebody in Buruburu living in a maisonette, it has a 2-3 bedroom, or in Komara it's a 1-bedroom. So I don't know.
Haya. Sawa sawa. I think we've lost him tena. But anyways, Gasasira, do you have anything else to say before we close the meeting?
Personally, I really don't have anything to add. I think that everything was really well said, so I really don't have anything to add. Maybe that we prepare for the next session. Personally, I don't have anything to add. I'm just still absorbing the information that we've been told here. I'm just still in. Let me say I'm just still in shock because there's some things that I didn't know personally. Yeah.
Awesome. I think ni all of us, we are really learning a lot. And our guests, okay, I don't know, did we ask him his name kweli? MLK.
Hebu
Thank you so
atuambie
much.
because
Hebu
hajaintroduce.
tuambie jina yake. Juu mimi I want to call him by the name but na initials, so saidie jina yako please as we close up.
I've put MLK Jr. because I admire, that is Martin Luther King Jr. I admired his
Mm,
doctrine. I admire. So MLK means Martin Luther King Jr. I like to, if you follow I usually look at his philosophies and what he used to say. So I admired him. That's why I put it there. But my real name is Fred, and I'm honored to be invited as a guest here. I believe this is not should not be the last time, because I'm also learning from you, your questions and all that. We know we are growing together.
yeah.
We are growing together. So I'm getting to learn also things from you, because we all have different experiences from where we are coming from. So we are going to grow together. Let's let's not look at 3 months, 6 months. Let's look at all this in a scope of even 5, 10, 15, 20 years, where we will be, and remember these particular sessions we've been having.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you so much. Thank you so much for this wonderful session. I guess tomorrow we shall continue. We shall discuss on that. And guys, thank you so much. I'll just like to urge you, be intentional. Umeka hapa like an hour, like be stingy with your time. Usikubali ikuwe wasted. Make sure whatever we learn, you get to implement. You go to Google, research, ask question. And I'm just happy to say that to all of us, when wamekuwa wakijaribu the money market fund we are implementing, and let us continue to grow together. Uko na kitu yenye mimi najua, kuna kitu nyingine yenye sijui, so don't be scared that hii ni session ya mtu mmoja. We can always allow you to interact and share something that enye unaweza kuwa ujui na mimi enye naweza kuwa sijui na mimi najua, so that we can be able together to learn and break this financial bondage. We want to change our mindset. We want to grow and expand. And also urge your friends, mtu asingoje tu ati ile topic anataka. Mimi nasemanga kila kitu ni process. We don't want to miss anything cause naweza kuwa sasa sina pesa ya kuinvest mahali, but I still need the knowledge. Like as believers, you're always told that when you pray, when you have a problem, you are in great trouble. You have to pray before, because when uko na shida you can't pray. So for us, hata kama hatuna hii pesa, it's your time to, as much as you are not where you want to be, so make sure you learn fast. Ndio wanasemanga luck is when opportunity meets preparedness. So let's get prepared for whatever we are coming. Let's enjoy. Hata kama topic hauelewi, just let's go with the flow and get to grind this together. So I want to invite Gasasira to close for us with a word of prayer. Gasasira? Oh, so here's the link, but we will post it on the group because meeting ikiisha itakuwa imeenda nayo. So yeah, nda post kwa group the link. Gasasira, unmute.
Okay. Let's close our hearts and pray, believing in Jesus. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for being with us. Thank you, God, that you've taken us through this session. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for the wisdom that we've kept, dear Heavenly Father. Our hearts are very grateful, dear Heavenly Father. Let's that everything that we've learned here not go to loss, dear Heavenly Father. Let's start implementing in our lives, dear Heavenly Father. It might not to be today, but God, let this knowledge be the knowledge that will help us in the future to build ourselves in the future, dear Heavenly Father. Thank you for everyone who is here, dear Heavenly Father. Look at the bottom of their hearts and look at their desires and grant them according to your will, dear Heavenly Father. For this is our humble prayer and belief in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. Ati for watching, for joining us. Have a good night. Feel free to leave the meeting. Guys, good night.
Good night.
Thank you.
This one is the last one. I'm not even sure if she's really hearing.
To do what?
Even yesterday she left the last one, right?
I don't know. Ama medozi.
Ama nakuanga medozi.
Waithera, hi.
Ai, Wizera, unakuanga umedozi ama ujaki inaendelea?
I've never had her speak. Hi.